This is just, I don't. Those of us civilians that have had no experience with this, but have had a fascination for this kind of hardware for a long time. The B-52 there's nothing that's ever been able to do that mission. The damn thing can drop bombs on your ass from 30,000 feet or from 500 feet.
Yep, or less.
Or less. Imagine flying a building 500 feet, 400 feet above the ground. So there's a wide variety of missions this thing was suitable for. What's the highest a bomb can be dropped? Is that still classified?
No. During Desert Storm, our unit routinely bombed from 41,000 feet.
Drop the payload from 41,000 feet.
Yep.
And what is the lowest that you have ever dropped payload?
I've dropped 108 500-pound bombs from 200 feet. One wingspan for us.
200 feet.
Yep. At 390 knots.
And the bomb explosion, what's the velocity? You have to have some ground speed there to get away from it.
You always drop what we call high drags from the low altitude.
Right.
So there's a drag device on each bomb that makes sure that it falls behind you before it goes off. But inevitably, a couple of those will do what we call going slick, and that those high drag devices won't deploy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was always disconcerting to look at any videotape because there'd be one or two of those bombs would skip off the ground and go halfway back up to the plane.
To 100 feet.
Before they finally detonated.
Right.
And first time I looked at that, I thought, well, I didn't even know that. That was.
So would that damage the aircraft?
Not usually, no. Not usually. It would be far enough behind you.
What's your ground speed in a situation like that?
The bomber airspeed is normally 390 knots, so 425
At 200 feet off the deck?
Oh yeah, or less. Some of the routes had no minimum altitude at all. I got discovered by an F-15 one time on a red flag mission because we were kicking up dust on the desert floor. That's how he saw us.
Wow.
And that's when I realized you can go too low. that didn't help.
So you're like half a wingspan off of the ground.
Yeah, that gets scary. You can't make any mistakes.
You can't sneeze.
No.
You can't do anything.
Yeah. That's why you didn't routinely do that.
It's just amazing. Can you imagine being on the ground underneath a B-52 flying over your head at 100 feet? What in the hell?
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've crossed an interstate highway or something, at 300 or 400 feet above ground level, and often wondered what those people in the cars.
Oh my God! Can you imagine having? Because you're not going to see it.
No.
You're driving down a highway. You're looking ahead, and all of a sudden. Oh, God Almighty!
It must be frightening. I don't know.
I bet it is. I'll bet it is, man.
I've been on the base back in the late '80s. Somebody decided we weren't getting enough live releases of actual weapons coming off the airplane because there wasn't that very many places you could drop a lot of bombs in the U.S. And
right.
So
like Nevada, poor old Nevada.
Yeah, there's a place called the Utah Test Range outside of Salt Lake City. So that's where I dropped the.
I wonder how many pounds of explosives have been dropped on that damn thing.
Incalculable.
Yeah.
But we came up with a program in the 80s the pilots quickly called it the Bomb Your Own Base program because they decided we were going to drop what we call shapes or blivets, or phony bombs. They're just 5 or 6 feet long, and they're supposed to, or they're not even that, they're 3 or 4 feet long. And evidently they're supposed to mimic the aerodynamic qualities of a conventional bomb. Mm-hmm. And we went out in between the runway and the long parallel taxiways, and we mowed a bullseye in the grass. And then somebody at SAC headquarters went to the FAA and said, we'd like permission to fly 390 knots down through our base and drop a bomb on it. And I'm sure the FAA said no, and I'm sure that somebody at SAC said we're going to do it anyway because we did it.
Because we're SAC and we're just going to do it. We are the Strategic Air Command, and in fact, it's already been done.
So we did that. We bombed our own bases for a while to get. Oh gosh. By today's safety standards, they'd never let you do anything like that anymore.
So probably not.
The FAA governs all airspace, even military airspace?
All airspace in 48 contiguous states, yes. No shit. Now, the military has airspace set aside for their use, okay? And there's different types. For instance, pilot training occurs in what's called a military operating area, or MOA. And it's not technically restricted from other airplanes. Anybody can fly through there that's otherwise legal to be there. When I was a student, pilot training areas were restricted from other people, but that changed. Politics changed that. So there's a hilarious, our NJEP classes here, that a lot of them will put out a graduation tape on YouTube. And I was watching one here about a year ago, and they had a tape of air traffic control, and there was a civilian pilot asked for permission to enter the Westover military operating area out west of here. And the controller's answer was, well, I can't keep you out of there, he says, but what's in there is unqualified pilots and supersonic jets. Your choice.